What up, y'all? Had to had to pick this one back up because people getting their feelings. So we're gonna continue the super fact about net neutrality and just clear up some things for some folks. Now, some of y'all may know all about net neutrality. Class 1, Class 2, the different determinations between these FCC rulings. The actual bill was actually wrote prior to the internet even existing, and they're really just projecting some old policy onto kind of a new technology because it falls in the realm of communication. But anyway, all that's boring. You can do the whole research. Even after you do the research, some of the stuff you might not even understand because it's so technical in terms of what's happening. And so basically you kind of got to reduce it down to like the dummies version, which I hate doing. So when I have to do that, I don't even like talking about it. But you kind of got to reduce it down to the dummies version so people to get it, so they could just know like, oh, just make one choice. And then that's the choice. So people reduce it down to like a freedom of speech issue, and then everybody's going to get riled up about freedom of speech. Even though what's more important than freedom of speech is freedom of consequence. And that's kind of like the hiding thing. Like, you could say whatever you want, and they'll give you the stage to say it, but then they're going to blackball you for life and your entire family, and you'll never be able to get a job anywhere, and blah, 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 and somebody might try and kill you, and da, da, da. So sometimes you just got to think about the global picture behind certain things, right? The way I approach net neutrality is first, I don't have a say-so in it anyway. I mean, you could write your congressman all you want, but, I mean, unless you're sending him a bag of money, which is what all of these ISPs are doing, then you're going to have a real serious problem. So unless you're writing your letter to your congressman on the back of a fucking check, and that's not to be funny, but it is funny, but I'm laughing at it because it hurts, because it's such a sick joke that is the state of our affairs. Now, whether you choose to believe that or not, doesn't really matter. What matters is that's what happens, and that's what lobbying is, and that's why there are more lobbyists in Washington than there are representatives of the actual employees of the government that actually work for the government. So if you have a misunderstanding about that process, then you need to do some due diligence about what lobbying actually is and what it means. Now, in terms of one of the only solutions that I heard, and this came from a tech person when it came from talking about net neutrality, was if you're really, really, really concerned, like for real, concerned about net neutrality and making sure that nobody's monopolizing the free and unfettered traffic of information and bullshit across the internet, then you need to start an ISP, right? You and a bunch of your friends need to get together. You need to go buy a bunch of servers and a bunch of broadcast equipment and all that stuff that goes into creating a network, and satellites and all of the other stuff. And you just need to create an ISP and make it open source, and free, right? That's really it. ISP is an internet service provider, right? Like, that's what you need to do if you really, 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 really worried about it. But other than that, I mean, you just keep throwing yourself at the political wall. But here's the funny part. They may pass it. It may get passed. They might keep it in the class that it's in, and that's great. The dude who's part of the FCC was actually used to work for Verizon, and he's kind of full of shit. So it's in his best interest to make sure that, the ISPs are able to have, the power or the say-so to block competition or block things that they don't fund. So like if an example, if Verizon owned Netflix, and they were doing battle against Hulu, which is owned by whatever telecom company, Verizon would slow down or push traffic or ads or whatever away from Hulu into Netflix. So they wouldn't allow equal access to the different companies and content providers on their specific service. So the way that you would have to do that to kind of choke it out or make sure that they play fair is set rules and regulations so that that doesn't occur, and create like consequences and incentive packages for them not to do that, or create a third system, whereas there is no competition between the two entities and you can guarantee service and all the other goofy shit. The government doesn't do it because the government is terrible at building networks. So they can't really do anything infrastructurally to kind of replace a Verizon or a or AT&T or any of that other stuff. And for that fact, neither are you. Anybody on Instagram right now is unable to do the same shit and guarantee a certain level of quality or consistency of service, or pricing where an internet bill isn't $5,000 fucking dollars for one person and $10 for another person. So I mean, overall, it's like a good thing. My concern is that, and this was the crux of my thing, I'm not downplaying or belittling somebody's passion about net neutrality. I'm not making an overstated kind of thing that I know exactly what that shit is and how it's going to work. I know the basics, and because I only know the basics, I don't talk about the shit. What I'm talking about is our historic relationship to the internet as a whole is problematic for certain people. And when I say certain people, I'm going to just say a bunch of people. Internet, it distracts us, it slows us down, it makes us counterproductive, it has all this shit. Most of the shit that we do on the internet is bullshit. Most of it is really like you're worried about them slowing down the internet, but you're not worried about the content that they give you, right? Where the content is kind of counterproductive to your homeostasis as a human being, right? Because it's promoting you to go do dumb shit or go eat dumb shit or go look at dumb shit or to waste your time arguing about dumb shit that has no real consequence in your life, or to get involved with things that have nothing to do with you and never will have anything to do with you, or things to play on your emotions to make you feel a certain way about certain things, which in and of themselves aren't really that real to even begin with. And we could go through memes and GoFundMes and all type of shit, where you look at the crux. So my point was just to look back at your personal relationship to the internet. If you're caught up in net neutrality, because you're putting the carriage in front of the horse, if you're not pushing a healthy lifestyle, and I'm not saying do away with the internet, I'm saying just prioritize your personal relationship to the internet before you get caught up into something like net neutrality, which half of you motherfuckers don't even understand, and then the other half of you can't do anything about it. Right? And the other half, then let's throw in the third half. The third half don't even know what it is. You just see a meme and you see somebody put up some random figure that they made up, which isn't real. And then you get caught up in how do you even vote for it? And then they say, oh, well, you can't vote for it because it's something that's only going to be voted for by a few people. But maybe you have a certain level of influence with these people, with people who've never wrote a congressman in their life. I mean, so whether it goes or it doesn't go, whether they keep it or don't keep it, you still have to think about the internet's going to be here forever until they cut the lights out. And as long as it's here, there's nothing wrong with somebody saying, hey, maybe you should think about how you relate to the internet, what you use it for, how much you're using it to affect your life, what sacrifices are you making and compromises that you're making to engage and have like a career, or using the internet to entertain you, or this, that, and the third. And are you really looking at it critically and objectively as it relates to your personal life and what you could be doing? Because the world is still a big, beautiful place outside of the internet. It's a bunch of motherfuckers who just push and push and push, like the internet and apps and phones and all this shit is great. And you can only have revolution with the internet now and all this, and forget that the entire history of mankind, prior to the internet, which is longer than the time that we've had the internet, we've still been able to accomplish and do great things, right? And cause revolutions and overthrow corrupt regimes and do all type of other shit. And it's just funny that now that we got the internet, we can't do shit else except be on the internet. So that's all I was saying. You know, I know people want to get out of control and come up with all these technical issues to kind of combat what I was saying, but that's not what I was saying to get you into a conversation about net neutrality. It was to get you to think outside of the fucking internet, no matter what's happening, right? At the end of the day, the internet is controlled by the U.S. government. It was created by the military. Why do you think you have any type of access or control over something that would, even if you're on the dark web or DARPA or some shit, like they can't find you? Like, come on, man. You know how many hackers work for the government or are locked up in jail, or they pop up and knock at their house because they hired them to come in and work for them and they find out who they are? I mean, let's keep it 1,000, man. Shout out to all my homies at Anonymous, too. Always love you guys. Some of y'all a little shady, but some of y'all are super cool. So that was it, man. That was the crux of the super fact. Was the guy, I think they're voting on net neutrality tomorrow. But even if they pass or it doesn't pass, still think about your relationship to the internet, no matter whether your service is super slow or it's fucking super fast. If you just looking at some super fast bullshit, I mean, you on X videos all day, well, you could take your ass to the library, or be out building a nice piece of art or doing something in the real world. Maybe you need to rethink your relationship to the internet. That's all I was saying. That was it. So whichever side of the net neutrality space you're on, good luck tomorrow. But at the end of the day, try and curb the bullshit that you allow into your life coming through these screens, right? Because all this shit ain't that good. It ain't all good. It's not all bad either. Some of it's great. But the part of it that's really great is like that compared to all the bullshit that's over here. So my fist is the bullshit. How much of this shit is actually beneficial and productive to our lives is probably like that much, right? So don't get it confused. These people get you hyped up to go to bat for something that you don't even know shit about, that they half know shit about, and the other half can't even really do shit about. So again, just be careful with who you allow to write the narrative of your life. You know what I'm saying? All right, that's it. Super facts. Rhyme was over. I'll see y'all later. Deuces.